So Brian, carbon is a word that we hear from time to time in the ethanol industry, but give us some context here. How long has low carbon policy been a priority, and when did we start talking about this potential opportunity?
Well, the American Coalition for Ethanol, Nick, has been talking about carbon for 3-4 years at least. And the reason that we've been focusing on carbon and talking about the role that low carbon policy can play is that increasingly we observed that a lot of our plant members were doing well in the California marketplace under their low carbon fuel standard, despite the many imperfections that that program has. We're witnessing that the California program was driving real value in the marketplace. When you look at the credit prices, a point of carbon intensity could translate into nearly 2 cents a gallon for ethanol producers. And that's literally millions of dollars for some of these plants. So it makes a real difference for their bottom line. But low carbon policy can also be a factor in driving ethanol demand and increasing ethanol demand. And so for those reasons, we've really begun, I think, to focus more carefully on carbon. And I think where we became much more public facing on this topic was in 2017, 2018, when we put out that white paper under the leadership of Ron Alberson, how to properly account for the low carbon benefits of corn ethanol.
So ACE has been involved in this for a while now. Where's the broader industry at on this topic, and kind of where are we headed here?
I think the broader industry is coming to realize that carbon is going to be one of the primary drivers for growth in this industry in the future. The industry as a whole, I think, is coming to recognize that it's a matter of when, not if, policymakers at the state and federal and even international levels begin to implement these low carbon policies. And if we are going to see that happen, we want to position ourselves as part of the solution, because if we sit on the sidelines and don't participate, the void will be filled by those that want to position us as part of the problem.
When we think about making change or creating momentum around this topic, it involves a broad coalition of stakeholders. Who else is interested in this or invested in this as we think about low carbon policy?
I think one of the most encouraging things about working on low carbon policy, Nick, is we can go on offense and sort of try a new approach and bring new parties and new stakeholders to the table to be part of our effort. The battle lines have been drawn when it comes to the renewable fuel standard, and we find that we're constantly going up against refiners over what the volume will be, whether there will be waivers or not. Low carbon policy is an opportunity to turn the page and work with a new set of stakeholders and go on offense. And so we've been grateful, I think, most importantly, to work with groups like the Great Plains Institute based in Minneapolis. And over the period of 2018 and 2019, ACE and the Great Plains Institute convened a stakeholder process, which led to 30 organizations signing on to a recommendation or a white paper or a report making recommendations to state legislatures and governors for what Midwest low carbon policy could look like. The Union of Concerned Scientists, which is a group that is closely followed by all of the well-respected environmental organizations around the country. They really look to the Union of Concerned Scientists for what direction to go on biofuels issues, and UCS, as they're referred to, has been an integral part of the process in the Midwest, and we find ourselves collaborating with them often. We also work closely with companies and organizations that want to see more electric vehicles, and I know there is this mentality in the ethanol industry that the electric vehicle is our enemy, and we've got to work with the refiners to sort of protect the status quo liquid fuel marketplace. And we want to break through that sort of worn out mentality, and we want to expand the tent and bring new allies to the table, and by working on low carbon policy, we're able to do that because we can bring the environmental groups along, we can bring the companies and organizations that want to see more electric vehicles along. We've done that very successfully in the Midwest, and we think we'll have to try to replicate that at the federal level.
So as we think about all those stakeholders involved and that are needing to be at the table there, what role does ACE play in helping to facilitate that conversation?
Well, ACE has played a leadership role. We've chosen to get in the game early, to get in the game often. We want to sort of define what low carbon policy is going to look like. We know there are imperfections with the California Low Carbon Fuel Standard. We do not want the California program to be the model by which other states necessarily adopt these policies, or by which the federal government eventually goes down this road. And that's why we took the initiative during 2018 and 2019 to work with the Great Plains Institute to put together that framework so governors and state legislators understand that they can do low carbon policy in a way that makes sense, that is genuinely technology neutral, that reflects the latest life cycle science from the GREET model or other life cycle analysis, instead of cherry picking that life cycle science. And ultimately, the reason we're working on this, Nick, and the reason that the American Coalition for Ethanol is taking a leadership role on low carbon issues is that we believe this is the way to expand the marketplace for us domestically. This is the way, carbon is the way to drive higher blends of ethanol into the market. Carbon is the way that we're going to increase the value of ethanol, so our members can continue to prosper in the future.
For those that maybe want to dig into this a little bit more, what's a good place for them to go to access that information about low carbon?
Absolutely, Nick. They can go to our website, ethanol.org. There they will find the white paper that ACE published back in 2018 on the GREET model and ways that the GREET model needs to be improved. For example, it should give credit to farmers for sequestering carbon in the soil. If they go to our website, they will also be able to look at the report that we put out in conjunction with the Great Plains Institute and nearly 30 other organizations, including environmental organizations, on the framework that we've recommended Midwestern states look at as they consider low carbon policies. And so the website should have all of those resources.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.